So those are the wrong chemicals to use. Now the other idea here is that integrated pest management works. And my industry recognizes that. This is not an environmental fluffy thing. This is best practice everywhere in the industry. And we know that if you just rely on chemicals to kill pests, very soon those pests are going to change. The chemicals aren't going to work anymore. And it doesn't work. It's something that you have to do over and over again. So in Boston Housing Authority, they implemented an IPM policy. And in 4 years, they were able to drop asthma symptoms 10% in 4 years. And not knowing the specifics, I would imagine that they eliminated a lot of the cockroach problems that they had, and that was probably the bigger impact to the asthma symptoms. So that was a really good example of where it works. So, so integrated pest management is a process. It's not a routine where you have a guy come into your house and spraying to control in a preventative way. Instead, it's about monitoring. So it's like going to the doctor and getting checkups on a regular basis, or going to the dentist and getting your teeth checked. What we would like to do, and the goal is to start visiting you and check your units, and check not only for pests, but also for the conditions that make the pests. We know that if you have a leak under your sink and it's spilling water under the sink, that's perfect for cultivating cockroaches. It's like growing cockroaches under the sink. If the radiators are always on and you can't turn off the radiator, it makes the house very humid, it makes it warm, it's perfect for growing cockroaches. If there's cracks all around the sink area and around the cabinets where food and grease from the stove is gathering, it's like a buffet line for cockroaches. So, so the idea is not only looking for cockroaches, but looking for these problems and fixing them before we have the actual pests that come from them. You do that by inspecting and really and with sticky traps in those spaces. We need to make sure that we are looking for the right cockroaches. So I brought some cockroaches today for my demonstration for you. Real roaches. But these are not the roaches that you get inside your house. These are roaches that are outside guys. They're not even pests, the way I look at them. These are living things that live outside, and they break down the things that are happening. I got it from a pet store. They use them for they use them to feed reptiles. That's what it's for.
Oh, you into this, huh?
Huh?
You into this, huh? Sound like he in the roach's mind and stuff.
Well, but that's part of the thing. You're right.
You know so much about them, like they think.
Well, and that's the thing. We you know, I don't know if I know how they think, but I know what they like.
I like it. I mean, I know you don't.
Yeah, I know what they like, and I know what their behavior is. And so it's that information I use to find their weakness. That's really the point. So I can tell you more. So, but you're right. By knowing about the biology, behavior, you know how much water does it need? Where does it get its water? What kind of food does it want? Where does it get its food? What food are you giving the roach inside the space? Sometimes it's obvious. Many of the units in Alice Griffith don't have hoods over the stoves. That's a big problem because you're cooking, you have the grease that's coming up, and there's no filter to catch that grease, so it gets on the wall, it gets in between the spaces. That is the #1 food source for the cockroaches in many of these units. So, so we know that that's one of the things that we have to tackle, and that's part of what we're trying to address with this toolkit. Instead of saying, what can we put on top of it? Well, how can we deal with that? And many times there are things that we can't do alone. It could be that, you know, Mrs. Smith that lives there, she's too old to move the stove out of the way and clean back there. I mean, I understand that. So we have to, you know, form a team to figure out a way to give her that help. But really the controls that we're looking at is sanitation. So getting rid of that food that they're using to eat. You don't have the food, you don't have the problem. The structural repairs, all the cracks that they're living in, sealing them up. If you take away their home, they can't live there anymore, and that's a fact. And I'm going to show you that today when we go to the unit to look at it. Habitat modification, that might be like fixing the radiators. If it's keeping the wall very hot, it's a perfect little place to grow cockroaches. Fixing that is going to make it a little harder for them to live. Cultural modifications, that might be like using liners in the compost bin. So one of the problems that composting has, and everything has an unintended consequence, right, is that you might get fruit flies. So changing the way that we're using the compost bins with liners might help to control that. And that's an example. And then we have lots of non-chemical things that we use, like traps. the caulking gun that I'm going to show you today, and then some different chemicals that are really low risk, like detergent water. And so that's one of the things I want to show you. So when we're doing inspection and monitoring, like I said, we're looking for pests, and we're looking for the signs that the pests leave behind. So over there in that corner, you can't see it very well, but have you noticed that when you've had cockroaches that they leave little crumbles behind? That's the frass. That's what Shraddha was mentioning, and that's what's really can be harmful. It gets in the air and can be harmful to people living there. So that's what we're looking for when we're doing our job. We're looking for that frass, and we know that if there's crumbs there very nearby, that's their home, and that's where we want to treat. We want to go directly to where they are. And the number one place that pests are anywhere that there's water, anywhere that there's food. So the first places are always the kitchen, then the bathroom. But after you get a big infestation in either one of those places, they can be anywhere in the unit. So, and you see those, you see that problem in many places. So, and then we're also looking at the exterior of the building to try to prevent pests from coming back into the unit.